Welcome back, everybody. You're here at KGTR. We got another special treat. We got a Hit Parader magazine issue from 1980. This is the February issue of Hit Parader 1980, featuring the legendary Freddie Mercury and Queen on the cover. So join me, sit back. We're going to go through this magazine page by page and see what's in it. If there's any articles or features or interviews you want me to cover, I'll do that in a follow-up video. Right? We're just going to go peruse this magazine, flip the pages, and see what was happening, get the latest buzz on the scene. Remember, this is before 80s metal. This is 80s rock, hard rock right now, and we're venturing into the evolution of 80s metal. So join me, right? This is the February 1980 issue of Hit Parader. All right, we got here the cover of Hit Parader. We got this magazine only cost $1.25. February 1980 issue. This has Kiss on the Road, ELO, Things Have Changed, Robert Palmer's Secrets, Suzi Quatro, Rock All Night. You remember Suzi Quatro? She was famous because of Happy Days. What was it? Not Pinky Tuscadero, Leather Tuscadero. Yeah, Leather Tuscadero, and that was who Suzi Quatro was. So if you're a fan of Happy Days, you remember Leather Tuscadero. Anyway, so here's Suzi Quatro in 1980, trying to be relevant. Right? This also has B-52s Explains Everything. So if you want to do a follow-up on what the B-52s were talking about for Snake in the future, this is 1980. We'll do that. The Charlie Daniels Band, they were pretty huge in 1980. Rowdy and Ready to Rock. Southside Johnny and the Asbury Dukes. Remember that? Finally gets the image across. So this is actually still before MTV. I think MTV came out in 81, if I'm not mistaken. But this is February of 1980. So these bands were still trying to get notoriety. You had the hits on the radio, but there was not really much of music videos out there. So then you got BOC, Bachman, Turner. Who's BOC? BOC synthesizer info. Oh, I'm sorry. I was thinking it was Bachman Turner Overdrive. This is BOC synthesizer info. All right, word to the latest hit songs. This is a Queen exclusive dressing room photos. This also has Hot Rock News, Patti Smith's Decision, Tom Curry's Cult, Johansson Tour, Elton Rocks, a Disco, Nugent on Wheels, Lofgren's LPs, Red Chat, and more. All right, so let's go ahead and open her up. This right here is the second page. Look at this. Power Plays, dual sound humbucker. These are DiMarzio pickups. This is the X2N Power Plus and the Super 2. Now the only DiMarzio pickups I had is the DiMarzio Distortion and the DiMarzio Super Distortions and the DiMarzio Super Distortion 2s. So I don't know if Super 2s are the same as Super Distortions. I don't think so, but these are called Super 2s. All right, let's go to the next page here. All right, here's an ad for Color Tone, Small Tone. We already covered that in the January issue. Remember, we're going to go through every month, every issue, every year, starting with 1980. All right, so this is the table of contents right here. Let's see if I can show you this. Hit Parader, we got Rock and Roll Hotline, Southside Johnny articles. We read your we read your mail. Guitars and Amps, Alan Lanier of the Blue Oyster Cult, HP Instant Discography, REO Speedwagon. This is all before the internet, so we're going to look at technology and the ads and so forth before all that. Edgar Winter, Suzi Quatro, Rock Every Night with Suzi Quatro. I like Where I Am Now. Yeah, because she got really popular with the Fonz and the Happy Days gang. Right, John Cooper Clarke. I don't know who John Cooper Clarke is. We got Michael Jackson. The Jacksons Make Their Own Moves. Robert Palmer, Kiss. Hit Parader exclusive Part 1. On the Road with Kiss. Kiss guitar star Paul Stanley reveals the inside info. All right, so I'm definitely going to do a follow-up video after this video on this. Kiss, On the Road with Kiss's guitar star Paul Stanley. I want to know what he's going to talk about when he's thinking about in 1980. All right. We got Centerfold, the Cars. The Cars were pretty huge back then. The B-52s. Remember, there was rock, hard rock, and then there was beginnings of new wave. And you pretty much like Blondie, Pat Benatar, the Cars, the B-52s, Devo. That was already getting to the rock, new wave type of music. And that was competing with 80s rock, 80s hard rock. Then you had techno pop, right? The techno music like Kraftwerk and Gary Newman. Remember that? The keyboard era? Yeah, the keyboards about to compete with the rock stars and so forth. So it'll be interesting to see how this progresses, all right? That's page 4. Let's go into the next 2 pages. All right, here we go. We got Rock and Roll Hotline. Ted Nugent adds 4-wheel drive. Sly Sylvain's got the teenage news. Some people don't like the Boomtown Rats. Right? Tim Curry gets past the cult. Patti Smith doesn't want to rock on demand. Elton John disco or not? So, do you go the disco route? Disco is dead, or you get back to your rock and roll roots? Johansson on the road. Disco insiders say that disco is beginning to fade. So this is February now of 1980. But many pop stars are still lending an ear to the disco beat. Remember 1979, Kiss did the disco craze with I Was Made for Loving You. You had Andy Gibb, you had the Bee Gees, you had Leif Garrett, Donna Summer, ABBA, you had all these bands doing disco. But by 1980, it had like its 2 years, right? 77, 78 was the height of disco. 79 was the beginning of punk rock with the Ramones and the Clash and the Sex Pistols. So all these competing musics in the late 70s, early 80s. So that's pretty cool. So he's trying to decide whether to continue with disco, get into disco. So that should be interesting. All right, what's next? Southside Johnny gets the image across. So remember the band Southside Johnny and the Asbury Dukes? This is a big feature article about him. Let me know if you want me to review this article on Southside Johnny. I'd be happy to do so in a follow-up video. All right, I want to leave no stone unturned because these magazines are going to have a chock full of snippets of interviews, full interviews, or articles about these famous bands that were popular and then they disappeared down the road. So this is 1980. We may not hear from Southside Johnny anymore after this issue. Who knows? But we're going to learn every month, every year. So let me know if you want me to cover this in a future video. I'll be happy to. All right, what's next? All right, again, this is an advertisement here. Electronic accessories. Okay, we read your email. I keep saying email. There was no email back then. This is 1980. All right, again, real quick, this is back when you got a postcard, piece of paper, handwritten it, or you would handwrite it, and then you put it in an envelope, put a stamp on it, mail it. Maybe the hit parade would get your letter in about a week or two, and then maybe you have to wait each month to see if they got your mail, and they would post it online. They would post it in the magazine for the whole world to see. So they must have gotten thousands of thousands of letters asking them questions and whatnot, and they probably picked like maybe 7 or 10 per issue. And here's what they selected. This is on Ted Nugent, Queen, Jethro Tull, etc., etc. There's Jethro Tull right there. All right, guitars and amps. So this had a little section, guitars and amps. Alan Lanier of the Blue Oyster Cult. So it's going to talk about probably his guitars and amps that he uses, right? HP, which is a hit parader, not Hewlett Packard. Hit parader instant discography. Nils Lofgren. Very, very great guitar player at the time. What's next? Catching on to Rio. Catching on to REO Speedwagon. Now, my memory, I don't know if High Infidelity came out in 81 or 80. I want to say 81. So this is right before High Infidelity, if I'm not mistaken. Our personalities are our heaviest special effect. Again, I'll be happy to go into this article. If you're a fan of REO Speedwagon, just let me know and we can do a follow-up video. Otherwise, we're just going to be going page by page to let you know what's in this issue. I'll be more than happy to do that for you. All right, Skin Addicts. So these are going up in the latest records. Led Zeppelin's In Through the Outdoor, Tom Verlaine, Van Morrison, Andy Pratt, Chuck Berry, Led Zeppelin. So it's like pretty much like in the listening room. They're pretty much rating and reviewing their album. Bob Dylan, Talking Heads, The Shirts, The Fabulous Thunderbirds. They were a band in 1980, but they only had that one big hit, Ain't That Tough Enough, right? And that came out what, 84, 85 maybe? The brother of Stevie Ray Vaughan. So they had all these records, but probably no hits except for that one song. Okay, what else? Edgar Winter synthesizes Rock for Love. Edgar Winter Band. Very underrated, extremely gifted musician and songwriter right there. So if you want me to brush up on that, I'd be happy to. Again, more in the Edgar Winter rock action. This talks about the Clash, the early Clash. Again, I can talk about this down the road. Now look, remember her? Rock Every Night with Suzi Quatro. So if you're a fan of Suzi Quatro or Leather Tuscadero, right here, I'll be more than happy to break this interview article down in a follow-up video, and we can see what's happening with her in 1980. But most people would recognize her from her fame with Happy Days. So maybe she talks about Happy Days right here. But here it is. This whole article is about Suzi Quatro, and I thought she was going to be like I don't know if Joan Jett was trying to emulate Suzi Quatro, because Joan Jett had that look with the hair and the I Love Rock and Roll. I think that was 80, 81, and Joan Jett took off, right? And Suzi Quatro, I think, wanted to be like, or I think Suzi Quatro wanted that breakout hit like Joan Jett and the Blackhearts with I Love Rock and Roll. And it didn't, but I think Suzi Quatro, they probably saw her as Leather Tuscadero, Happy Days, and they didn't take her for real. She was like a gimmick. Like she was on Happy Days, they wanted to be popular, but she was probably already popular, got the gig as a guest star on Happy Days. But she was no Joan Jett. So that's just my opinion. So now look at here. Gibson and Fender copy guitars. So back then they're letting you know, we're going to make you a Fender copy replica or a Gibson Les Paul replica. Looks just like it, right? The cutaway here. And so back in 1980, if they got really good with replicating, with the dimensions, the shape, the headstock, maybe the woods or the pickguards or the colors or the hardware, but made them at a decent, cheaper price, then they were called the lawsuit Les Paul copies. So these guitars were really good, like Ibanez, Hondo, Gibson sued them to stop producing these guitars because people are going to buy these cheaper versions like they do now than the real thing. So back then though, I had a lot of friends with copies of Les Pauls. Les Pauls were just expensive back then. So what's next? All right, rock action. Tom Verlaine. Here's Johansson. Free new Carbon 1980 catalog. Isn't this interesting? So right now this is 2025. What it would be like to look at the 1980 Carbon catalog to see what was high tech back then. Isn't that cool? Look, John Cooper Clarke looks for the poetry of rock. I feel like I have a lot of room to move because there are different kinds of expectations of me. All right? And so if you're interested in this little article, hook me up, let me know, and I'll do it. If not, we're just going to go through this. Again, more on the Tom Verlaine, or John Cooper rather. All right, here we go. Remember Michael Jackson? He broke out with Off the Wall in 1979. So now the Jacksons, or the Jackson Brothers, they wanted to make a move on their own because there was no longer going to be Michael Jackson and the Jackson Brothers or the Jackson 5. It was Michael Jackson, the solo artist, was huge, and now the Jacksons wanted to make their own moves. Look, the Jacksons make their own moves. In an exclusive interview, Michael Jackson explains what they're doing and why. So this would be fascinating, right? Obviously, he died, what, in 2009, I want to say? I think he passed away in 2009, same day as Farrah Fawcett. But it'd be interesting to look back in time what Michael Jackson was talking about in 1980. So if you're interested in this, I may do this for my other channel. I may do a review of this interview with Michael Jackson of 1980. Because technically now it's a lost interview that's captured here at KGTR. So if you're interested, I'll be happy to do that for you. That's pretty interesting. All right, Robert Palmer's secrets. So if you want to know about his secrets, what's he talking about, I'll be more than happy to go over this, again, article interview with you to see what history says. All right, so here we go. This right here, Hit Parader's exclusive part 1 on the road with Kiss. So this is going to be Kiss guitar star Paul Stanley reveals the inside info. So this is during the Dynasty tour, okay? But right here, this whole interview, over here, over there, and over here, it's an interview. So it's going to be continued at another page. I'll be happy to, I'm interested in definitely doing a video on this. So look for a video next on the road with Kiss, and we'll go into it. See what he was talking about. And again, see this lengthy interview? It's pretty cool, right? So what else? Next issue, Paul Stanley talks about the next Kiss album, how he keeps in shape, Kiss film plans, the world tour, and more inside info on Kiss. So I'll go over this interview with Paul Stanley in the next video, so stay tuned for that. And then I believe the next issue is going to have more stuff on Kiss. So this is pretty cool, right? Early Kiss. I think Ace Frehley was still in there. Let me go back and let's see. Yep, Ace Frehley's still with the band. He wasn't kicked out yet. I think he was kicked out before Creatures of the Night or during Creatures of the Night. This is during the Dynasty tour. So there we go. All right, live killers on tour. Look at Freddie Mercury. Well before AIDS, well before any of that stuff. This is 1980. And this is before he got that the Castro clone look, where he had the mustache and the cropped cut, and then the wife beater t-shirt and the jeans. So this is a different look for him right there, right? So he hasn't gotten to that Castro clone look of 81, 82, and the mustache look. So this is before all that. So if you're a fan of Freddie Mercury or Queen, let me know. I'll be happy to cover that. Again, look at these great shots. This was a big deal back then. No MTV and no videos per se, maybe on Don Kirshner's rock concerts. But these photos were like, oh, you're a fan of Queen, Brian May, whoever, you would get these magazines and cut out these images and put them on your wall or your school locker. Oh, that was, let me go back. Over here, there's Rick Ocasek right here, the Cars. So this is the Cars right here. There's Rick Ocasek of the Cars. All right, Hit Parader, here's the Cars. So this was part of the other page. Sadly, it wasn't like a centerfold, right? Oops. I went back, oops. There we go. So there's one side of it, and there was the other side. All right, the Cars speak up for rock and roll. All right, so the Cars are getting pretty huge in 1980. They're about pretty much taking off, had a lot of good hits coming up, and they were a really good rock band. Very good rock band. Very original rock band. They had their own distinct style in music. I love them. I love the Cars. Great guitar player. All right, Killer Bees Rock and Roll. This is the B-52s. That's a pretty cool name too. Look, Killer Bees Rock and Roll. So this is a great interview, early interview of 1980 with the B-52s. Again, if you're a fan of the B-52s, I'll be happy to break this interview down. I may do this on my other channel. I have an 80s channel. The link is below if you're interested. I haven't uploaded anything on that channel per se, but it's going to be 80s content. We're in the 80s. Right now I'm doing 80s metal. If I find 80s rock bands, pop bands, new wave bands, I'm going to put that in my other 80s channel. So this is a guitar channel. So far I may put the Michael Jackson on the others other 80 channel, and I'll probably put the Queen and the B52 stuff on there. So if I do, and when I do upload it, I'll give you the link if you're interested to head on over to my other channel, because I'm going to cover a lot of 80s content on the 80s channel. All right, so here's this. All right, Discovering ELO, Electric Light Orchestra. Again, look at these magazines, have some great interviews with these bands. Any of you out there interested in this interview, a summary of it, I'll be more than happy to do that. All right. Again, this is more on ELO. Okay, Charlie Daniels Band. He had a couple of big hits back in between 79 and 81, I believe. And Charlie Daniels was all over the radio, all over the radio. Rowdy and Ready to Rock, Charlie Daniels talks about his music. He had that one album with a couple of hits, and then soon fizzled after that. You didn't hear much about him as much as those hits. It's almost like a one-hit wonder type of thing. They had a lot of hits on an album, but then their other albums, their follow-up albums, weren't as big. So people lost interest, I guess. But if you're a fan of Charlie Daniels, I'll be more than happy to cover that. All right, more Charlie Daniels. Okay, the Song Index, everybody knows Hit Parader, Cream, and Circus have portions of their magazines devoted to lyrics of probably like top 40 music on the radio, on AM, FM radio. And these are lyrics to your favorite songs. All right, here's some more lyrics. Gotta Serve Somebody, recorded by Bob Dylan. Remember these articles? Draw So-and-so. The Dream Police with Rick Nielsen and Cheap Trick. Take the Long Way Home by Supertramp. So if you wanted to sing to your favorite song, you can just break out the magazine and sing along to your record. All right, again, Dreaming, Babe, One Fine Day, This Is It. So unless you bought the album, sometimes the albums had the lyrics on the sleeve. But if you wanted the lyrics, there was no internet. You'd have to buy a songbook, which is probably like $4.95 back then, like how much a record cost. Or you get a magazine for $1.25 with free lyrics. So again, look at all these ads. If you missed out on high school, here's a second chance. So that's how you get your high school diploma. Again, more lyrics. Look, play lead guitar like an expert. Play guitar in 7 days. This was the internet. Believe it or not, classified ads. That was the internet. You would get these magazines. You can take a screenshot, right? So you get a piece of paper, write it down, get the address, submit your check or money. You get a catalog, get some cassette tapes, get some lessons. I don't think there were VHS tapes yet per se. Lessons on VHS. So it's pretty much all audio cassette. And that's how you would learn with music books and so forth and chords. All right. Men and women shed up to 20 pounds in a week, 50 pounds in a month. Again, more lyrics over here. Just to give you a piece of this. There we go. All right. Here are over 100 ready-to-use Mystic Chants for Money, Power, and Love. Again, more gimmicky advertisements back then. Automatic Mind Command. Again, more song lyrics. We're almost done with this issue. This is Southside Johnny. This is a continuation of the Southside Johnny interview. This is also a continuation of Southside Johnny. What else? While I'm recording, I don't really have any idea how it's going to sound. Robert Palmer. So this is on Robert Palmer, a continuation. Over here on the right is a continuation of the B-52's interview. Again, these are some fascinating interviews. I cannot tell you what I remember because it's been so long since I've read these interviews. But there's history here captured in time. I don't know if they're interviewing several of the band members, the lead singer, the two women. But again, I can delve into it. More than likely, I'll delve into these interviews, preserve them for my other 80s channel. And I think that's what I'm going to do. And that'll be fun to have the B-52s. Because right now, if you typed in B-52 interview 1980, maybe you got to pay for a subscription. Maybe you'll find it online, maybe not. But if I can go over these interviews in a video format, and if you're a fan of B-52s, I may call it Interview with the B-52s, February 1980 on Hit Parader. And then here's the interview for you with all the pictures and so forth. So that's what I'm going to do. What else? All right, what is this? Jeff Lynne outage. Very disco. Richard Tandy, our keyboard player, thought of that. Actually, there are so many different words you can get out of discovery. This is on ELO. ELO, very great with keyboards and synthesizers. Right, Laughing Dogs bark in Times Square. Following the videoing, the band headed out on tour on the East Coast. Oh, this is the band called Laughing Dogs bark in Times Square. So this is a band called Laughing Dogs. I never heard of them. Maybe they were a local band, but that's a little gimmick band right there. All right, we're getting into the very end of this issue. Here it is. Here it is. Rock and roll every month with a subscription to Hit Parader. On the newsstand, it's $1.25. You're going to save $5 if you order it through Hit Parader and get it delivered to you. Again, here's a guitar that we saw in the January issue of 1980. I love it. The Carbon DC-150. I would love for Firefly, I'm just throwing Firefly out there, to do a replica of this guitar. It looks great. All natural with the black, the cream and the black pickguards with the black pickup rings right there. It's got black hardware, right? Not chrome hardware. That's why it looks good. So you got a maple fretboard with black inlays. All natural wood, right? You got black speed knobs, black toggle switch. You got black hardware, black pickguard, cream pickups with the black little dots on them. I love it. I just love this look. I love it. And it's a nice double cutaway. I love it. The DC-150. So back then, it was for $460, which is a lot. But right now, if you go on eBay, all the carbons are minimum $700 to $900 and over $1,000 for a carbon. They're not gold. They're not Gibsons. They're not Fenders. And yeah, like Carbon and BC Rich. I don't know why they fetch so much money. I cannot spend that much money for a used guitar. I'd rather buy a new guitar for that money. I still don't pay that much money for a new guitar. So I don't do that. So that's just me. But I love this Carbon. Right? Is that it? That's it. So we're going to go back to the front of the cover. And this is the very beginning of the cover of the February issue of Hit Parader, released in 1980, featuring Queen and Freddie Mercury. Again, before I sign off on this video, any of these articles or interviews, look, Kiss on the Road. I'm definitely going to do a follow-up on that one. Robert Palmer, Suzi Quatro, the B-52s. Maybe I'll do that as an afterthought. That's a good idea, right? Right now, I'm just going over the magazines with you to let you know what's inside of it. But maybe for my other 80s channel. Aside from what I'll do here, I'll cover these interviews on my other 80s channel. And so if you're a fan of Suzi Quatro, you're going to find that interview there. If you're a fan of Electric Light Orchestra or Queen or Freddie Mercury, I may do that interview on that other channel. So at least I'll preserve all the interviews of Hit Parader in video format on another channel. Just a thought of what I would like to do. That's a lot of work, so I don't know if I'll do it. But it's in the back of my mind that maybe I should do that for my other channel. But for this channel, I'm going to follow up on the Kiss interview with Paul Stanley. All right? So there it is. That is the February 1980 issue of Hit Parader. Let me know if you have any questions, comments, or feedback. Do you have this issue? Do you remember the bands? Again, I love going through this magazine now in time because we're going to see the evolution of rock, obviously rock, hard rock, to the beginnings of heavy metal. Still, no mention of Judas Priest. I'm sure Van Halen's been mentioned somewhere, and we'll get to Van Halen. But when you look at the bands that they're featuring, it's hard rock. You may find Jethro Tull, the Rolling Stones, Led Zeppelin, right? Blue Oyster Cult, Aerosmith. Then you're going to start getting into Kiss, and then the Van Halens. Then you'll get into Judas Priest, right? the Scorpions, Quiet Riot. I can't wait till we get to 1983 because that's the explosion. That's when it started, right? Remember the US Festival? In 83 you had Motley Crue, their second album. You had Def Leppard, Pyromania, and then you had Quiet Riot, Mental Health. Those three albums, those three bands on MTV, 1983-82 was huge for 80s metal. So I can't wait till we get to that year. All right, so that's it. Let me know if you have any questions or comments, memories on this Hit Parader issue of February 1980. Thank you for joining me again. A lot of people remember Hit Parader magazine. A lot of people had this magazine, and over time, you chuck them, you lose them, misplace them, lend them out. You no longer have these issues. I have them here, so I want to share them with you in video format to preserve it. And lastly, again, any interview you want me to cover, either in summary form or share with you, I'll be happy to do that, all right? So let me know, and we'll do that. Thanks, everybody, for joining me here, and I'll see you all in the next video.